you guys?
Well, after yesterday, everything is.
Well, I've already blocked it out of my memory. I can't remember what we did yesterday. That's how.
Oh, I remember what we.
No,
Wait.
we don't. We
No,
didn't do
no
anything
one, no one
yesterday.
remembers anything from yesterday. That's good enough for me.
Oh, it was Jim Sterling.
Oh,
Mike!
no, it's coming back. Oh,
No,
shit.
Mike. Why did you do that?
Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 706. Cartoon Redemption Arcs, the Good, the Bad, and the Catra. Gee, I wonder where this is going.
We're totally not drunk.
Oh, I'm not drunk. I didn't have a stitch of liquor today, or alcohol for that matter. Anyway,
Well, it's still hot. You should drink something.
I'm happy with my lemon water. It's very refreshing. It's very
Aha, lemon water. Okay. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Anyway, this came out in May. It's got over 200,000 views from a fellow called the Mad Magpie. Redemption. Okay, if you guys don't know what redemption is, redemption arcs or plots. Redemption does not have to be an arc. It could just be a character who is disliked or disliking or does things that the audience does not like. And then later on in the story, they do something which is liked. So it could be rescuing a cat from a tree when previously he was like angry at cats or whatever the case was. So that's one of those wonderful things outside of an actual arc, like you see in a story of the main character and a plot that delves around their growth. This is like a side character form where the example of, I always give the classic example of Kill a Mockingbird. There's a side character called Avery. He's like the town weirdo. He urinates off his porch. He always, screams at kids. And later on in the story, someone's house is on fire. And everyone goes, not everyone, but some people go into the house to save the items on the first floor. He goes all the way to the second floor. He starts throwing things out windows and he gets trapped. And all the neighbors are like, you got to jump out of the window. You got to save yourself. And he does. And that's a strange. He's a weird guy. Like he will like make change at collection time during mass. Like he'll just do weird shit. But he does do other odd things. So your opinion of that fellow changes, or a character changes as the story goes on, and it could just be one completely unrelated event that does it. So it could be life and death stuff. It could just be saving a cat from a tree. It could be anything that makes you like the character more. When we talk about redemption for main characters, it's usually a very dark, twisted past that they're caught up in, that they just can never forgive themselves, and they spend the rest of their lives trying to solve that problem. And the classic example of that is from Babylon 5 with Londo. And he is so distraught over having known the knowledge of the destruction of the home world of the Narns. He did nothing about it, and he finally realizes his mistake. And then he's sort of put on this path of helping Jakar and his people come back to...
And his own.
Oh, yeah, no, he's got other demons, obviously. So, but that one's more obvious. That one's more clean because that's a main event in the storyline as opposed to a side character. So there's lots of ways to take it. Redemption is one of my favorite plots because you can take the smallest thing, but it could be the biggest thing to this character, and that's a form of characterization. So they really, really hate cats, and then something happens where they got to save a cat, and it reminds them of something else in their past, and boom, it connects, and they throw everything away and just they focus on that one thing to save the cat. Happens in isekai stories all the time. The guy who stayed up in his room all his life sees one girl about to get hit by a truck, pushes the girl out of the way for whatever reason, dies himself, gets sent to another world. So,
Real, or does it because he may despise the thing, but he knows somebody he cares about the thing, and that's why he saves the thing.
Yeah, it could be an act of heroism. It could be an act of charity. It could be anything that is good. But let's say the flip of that, we take a villain or a bad character, a secondary character, doesn't matter, and they do a bad thing later on. So they're already bad, but they do another bad thing. That's just expected. They're supposed to be bad. If they do a good thing, you're like, that would be very weird. Why would they do that? And the story would have to explain that because there was already a setup for them being bad. So you can't really do that without proper explanation of the execution of the thing that is good when it comes from someone who's bad. So with Mr. Avery in Kill a Mockingbird, yeah, he's a weirdo, and everyone thinks he's a grump and all these other things, but he is a neighbor, and if the neighbors need help, he runs right in there, and he's not scared to do the right thing. So that makes sense by virtue of being within a community. We don't need to explain his dark and twisted past. So anyway, let's get going. 21 minutes and a half with Mr. Mad Magpie.
As defined by the dictionary, as being or being saved from sin, error, or evil.
Okay, that's not applicable to literary fiction or plots. Maybe don't use that one for your explanation.
That is a weird one.
Yeah.
It's not the first thing that comes to mind, really.
Yeah, that's a bit religious. So, yeah.
Going by the... I don't know how this website works. Has he clicked on the center one of the...
He's using
buttons
Google.
there?
He's using Google. He's just doing redemption define, and this is what you get. Yeah. I don't know. This is not very helpful if you're writing a book or a story with a character who wants to right a wrong. Sin is very specific. Error, maybe. Evil, again, very specific. So usually you reserve that for main characters like antagonists who may be evil.
Yeah.
But not the best definition. Anyway, that's fine.
You make it. You make up for your past mistakes.
Not because you were inherently evil. You just realize what you did was wrong, and you go, "Oh, I have to fix that."
Saving is
The
less the
action of
fitting
regaining
word.
or gaining possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing debt, but that's not really relevant to the video. So let's just move on to when it comes to
Oh, man,
antagonists
blow your
receiving
nose.
redemption for their actions. It's
Is he British or is he just having nasal?
I think he has I think he has something major stuck in his nose that needs operating out.
Okay,
He also needs to slow down and speak
Honestly,
clearly.
that would be nice.
honestly
Yeah.
became quite the meme in the animation community these days. Like, oh my god, the amount of people that were screaming to high heaven because of how much of a ruthless, irredeemable bastard Jack Horner was actually incredible. But hey, that's on the film side of things, and I can admit there's been an issue in terms of antagonists there, at least on the Disney Pixar side. But that's for another day, probably, maybe. We're talking television here. And in that case, things are pretty different. Because even though these shows do have fantastic...
I'm sorry, I have real trouble understanding him, and I hope this is not some actual accent somewhere on the British Isles, but
Scotland.
some speech impediment, and for that there are speech therapists.
Yeah, it's got to be a version of Scottish, but like there is something going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
monsters, there's a lot of characters that get to redemption in these shows. So, class, today we're going to try and figure out just what makes a good redemption in these kind of shows, and what makes a bad one. Simple enough, right? Right? Well, let's go. Woo!
I don't. I'm trying to think of a bad redemption. Redemption is usually seen as a very good thing, even if a villain is doing it.
I think he means badly
Yeah.
executed.
Okay. We'll see what he means. That's fine.
Okay. To clarify quickly on what characters are actually suitable for this video, I'm specifically referring to characters who are undeniably an antagonist at first. Like, actively trying to bring harm to our heroes and everything, and then by the end, they are, well, no longer seen as that. The main reason I'm saying this is to exclude the likes of Amity Blight, Pacifica Northwest, etc. These two are never seen as full-on antagonists. They're rivals at the start at very
I haven't watched that.
Then there's characters that exist in a weird grey area.
This is just
but
badly written.
This
This
video
doesn't
is
count.
long enough, and I mean long enough by my standards. I'd love to do a movie like Epic, but don't quite know how that would perform. And covers more than enough characters already. Okay, so Here's the thing. When somebody says the words cartoon redemption arc in that order, or honestly just redemption arc, it's kind of impossible to not think about Avatar's Zuko.
Wait. So you eliminated the concept of animation, and then you say redemption arc. It's kind of impossible not to think of animation. Are you retarded?
I've lost the plot because I have so much trouble understanding what he's saying. The easiest way to free up your nose is if you heat up water, just throw salt in it, and then go over the steaming mess with a towel and just breathing the hot salt water. It frees up your nose.
I mean, you could have used that sentence and you would have been like a soap opera watcher from the 80s. And you'd be like, well, the mind immediately goes to Young and the Restless. And you're like, redemption arc? Really? Okay. This is dumb. Like already my brain is like, we're dealing with a child. Okay, but cartoons. All right. Or he calls it cartoon redemption. Like I don't call anime cartoons, but fine. Good enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Out of everyone on this list, this man is the creme de la creme of character arcs. You know it, I know it. It's layered, it's complex, it spans over multiple seasons, it's not a straight line of evil to good.
He's okay.
And you get to see every step of the way in breathtaking detail. It's the one to beat, and I'm afraid to say none of the others do just that. But hey, it's not like they don't try their hardest. Well, okay.
Zuko is a badly treated, misunderstood, edgy teen who matures. That's all. He's okay. He's okay written, but not. I wouldn't say the pinnacle in kids shows, kids cartoons. Okay, yeah, pretty high up there, but overall, he's okay.
Some of them do. We'll get to that. But why? Why is that? What does it do so wonderfully well? There's a good few factors that come together to make a really good redemption arc, so let's talk about them. First and foremost, before we even have them start to change, it's important to talk about
how they've done it is not important. It's why they did it and the realization that what they did was wrong or bad or caused problems or hurt someone or whatever the issue is.
That's right.
Is who cares? Like if you cause the death of not like you literally pulled the trigger, but by a lack of you acting, you caused the death of someone. How you do that is not really that important. You know, the judge doesn't care if you left the gun on the table for your baby to use, or you put it in the baby's hand. It doesn't matter how you did it; it still happened. So no, that's not really important.
I cannot believe 200 people watched this.
Well, and liked it.
Yeah, this would usually look cooler with the cloak, but I don't have it at the moment. Long story.
because this is a pretty tricky line to walk. If they've not done anything really bad, well, it doesn't make for a particularly amazing redemption arc when they eventually turn to the side of good. But if they've done horrific things, and even worse, apparently enjoyed doing those horrific things, look, all I'm saying is you'd better make up for it when the time comes for redemption.
No, it doesn't matter. As I said with Avery in Kill a Mockingbird, he didn't really do anything wrong. He was just a weird guy. He's kind of gross, but he ends up being a good neighbor that saves a lot of property from one of the neighbors whose house was on fire. He went the extra mile. It's a heroic act. That's a good thing. He risks himself for his neighbors. So it implies that he's not evil. He just has standards because he is also a homeowner, and he may have seen that the value of the house is going down, but she still has stuff in her building that is of value. Hey, if that was my house, I would go and save it. So it's a simple way of understanding his character, but he's not inherently evil, nor did he do anything inherently bad. He He's also not a main character. So you could see redemption in that light. It's not from evil to good. It's just from not liking the guy or liking a character to, what he's doing is a good thing.
A lot of the actions and backgrounds of some of the characters featured here are often left pretty vague, open to interpretation. Like, you can only imagine what the likes of Hunter and Scorpia might have done in the past, as key parts of the Emperor's Coven or the Horde, especially considering what we see those factions do. But their characters are often lovable enough that it's overlooked. And hey, I'm not saying that's bad writing. The fact that these characters are able to connect so well to the audience despite what they might have done.
What
is
audience?
testament to how good the characters are written. And
Okay, he's misinterpreting the concept of I like this thing, therefore it's dramatic to me, as they're well written, people understand what's going on. It's like, no, it's your subjective liking or disliking of something. They're like, I hate when people say, oh, I really like this character, they're so well written. It's like, what did they do? They fought the good guy, and you're like, okay.
Shira had an audience?
I'm sure they did, but
Yeah, but the implication is that it was good and had a relevantly sized audience. That's why it was the character can only be well liked when there's an actual audience. When there's no audience, you cannot make any statement about that.
Yeah, it's like I give an example of like a nameless villain who's just there, like Mr. X from Resident Evil. It's like, what a great character. It's like he doesn't say much. He just hunts you.
He
down.
doesn't do anything. He doesn't say anything.
He's just
that's Nemesis that talks.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, they based Nemesis off Mr. X, I think, but
Sort of.
Okay, but it's like saying that guy has a great character arc, or because he might have done something. Like, let's say Mr. X does something good later, like he saves the main character's life later on in the story. You're like, oh wow, cool. But he's a nameless, voiceless guy who's trying to smash your skull. That's it.
Yeah, he's a boss fight that constantly follows you around.
Yeah, hunts you down. It's like,
Nemesis is better though.
yeah.
Well, in the original.
Anyway, here is the Caporal. Thank you, sir. Another black-white bird fight me. Kawa. Okay, I don't know. What the hell's going on?
Caw. Can't you read bird?
No. Sorry. Phonetics are lost on me. Anyway.
his guilt post-redemption seems to come from the fact that, well, he's a Grimwalker. Essentially a clone of, well, the characters don't know exactly, but an important person to the main villain. Which could work, but the issue is that it doesn't really get resolved at all. Like, it's revealed to the characters that he isn't human almost offhandedly, and after that,
you mean
really
it's badly
quick
written?
Conversation, it's pretty much ignored.
So it's badly written.
Hunter's arc is still really good overall, and we'll get further into it in time. But this part is definitely.
So it's a well-written arc with giant holes that leave to be desired. Therefore, it's not well written. Hey, make up your mind. You just like the show and want to say good things about it.
Yeah, I like this character, but not when they did this. It's like, what? So you don't like the character?
An outlier and needing more time in the oven, and I'm not wanting to delve too deep into the fan.
So it needs more time in the oven, but it tastes really good. Wait, what? Okay.
Don't eat too much of the raw dough.
Yeah, the pizza tastes really good.
You
but
get
the dough
you get a stomach ache.
Isn't okay. The sauce is okay, but everything else sucks. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, my steak's supposed to be bleeding, right?
Yeah, it's before rare, but this is fine. If only it had a bit more minutes in the slow cooker, it would have been great. Okay.
It seems like it could have been further expanded on by, I don't know, having him meet the past Golden Guards. Seems like a golden opportunity, no pun intended, that was left to.
Wait, why does the skull thing not have a nose?
We are lost.
But it does have ears.
We are completely lost. It doesn't matter. What everything you just said the past 10 seconds were like what?
Oh, it's also half melted, so it's not okay. This is a
Sure.
weird zombie thing.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, uncovering the backstory of Caleb to help his state of mind by reassuring him he was at least created from something good. And no, it's tricky. You know what else is tricky? When not only do we see these characters...
You obviously have trouble breathing. You were just catching your breath really hard.
Guys,
Do you? I hope he knows that he has a medical issue and is getting medical help, because I mean I made jokes before, but seriously, this sounds serious.
when you exercise, guys, always breathe through your nose as much as possible, okay? Anyway.
horrible acts, but also enjoying those acts thoroughly. And that's exemplified in no better way than with Catra and Andreas. They're not the only...
Antitrius? Is that her name?
Andrew.
No,
I
I
have
think
no
he's
idea.
talking about the person on the right, the giant-sized guy.
Oh. Okay.
You watch this crap, Mike?
No, I've only seen clips.
I've seen clips of She-Ra as well.
Yeah. I think we're okay following, but whatever he was talking about before, I was just like, what?
How about you watch good shows
Of
instead?
course. Gideon and the Collector
don't
both
exist.
seem to be very happy to let others suffer for a good while. Man, what is it about the big three Disney shows and having a blue antagonist and
Gravity
having
Falls
that
was
antagonist be
okay,
the
at
one to
least.
fight back against the big bad in the finale? But in the case of these two, it's made much less of an issue by their particularly young age, as well as other factors we'll talk about soon enough. But also look at it this way. Gideon's a bit creepy and kidnaps the twins once, but other than that, he's just seen as a bit of a pathetic pest until the season 1 finale. Catra and Andreas?
I have no idea.
He's listing all
Omnicide?
the things they've done.
So it's not just about
Stalking.
what they've done, but how they react to it.
So it's not what they've done, but how they react to what they've done?
What?
Are you... What? That doesn't make any... So I killed 30 people, but it doesn't really matter that I killed... It's how I reacted after the fact.
Is he infested by the Steven Universe disease of I got a hug, I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah. He apologized. It's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay now. Oh, dear.
Fun villain because he absolutely did. The devilish glee oozes through every horrible act his character does by the end of season 2 and through most of season 3. And though the show does try its best to make sense of the eventual redemption with a really heartfelt letter, spectacular performance from Keith David, and a
So he wrote a letter. I mean, I'm sorry from me. Like, okay. Very hard.
I think it was from someone else or something.
I am really just waiting for the day that the left writes a show where Hitler redeems himself.
I mean,
Because they make all that already about Lenin, Stalin, Mao, and Castro, and all of those other socialists. I'm just waiting for them to do it with Hitler.
so long as the actor is Keith David and he says, I'm sorry with a German accent or whatever accent the character he's playing. It's like, oh, that sounds good. Thanks.
Ich tut mir leid.
He said Keith David?
Yeah.
That's what's his name?
The Arbiter.
No, yeah, the Arbiter, but he was
Anderson.
the black guy in The Thing, Childs.
Yeah, we were.
He's
All right.
yeah. What's the guy's name? The guy that was with Roddy Piper in They Live.
Don't know the name of that one. He was also Goliath.
Yeah, we talked about Keith David yesterday. He is anything you add him to, he's like Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. He makes everything better. Whatever you add that to.
Yeah, he was Anderson in the Mass Effect series.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Space Junk asks the right question. Says, did this guy talk about the sacrifice that is needed for a redemption arc? No, it's about saying sorry.
Well, right now, he seems to be defending the characters he
I'm
likes.
sorry.
Yeah.
South Park meme.
Such
Oh,
great-
he was Flame King as well in Adventure Time.
Oh,
Yeah, no, there has to be some value to what you're doing to have a concept of redemption to themselves. There's also the public view of redemption, but it's mostly about themselves and their motivation. So they may be risking their lives or their pride or their status. It doesn't, like, whatever it is that they are trying to achieve with that act can be seen to them as, I need to throw this, the person's valuables on the second floor of a burning building out the window, because that's what I would have done if it was my house.
Yeah.
So.
Ludo had a good thing going in Star vs. Evil, but that show just fell apart.
They wrote themselves in the corner the moment they said, "I fight monsters" line there. And then wanted to make an arc where, oh, guys, monsters aren't that bad.
They're the good guys. We're actually the invasive
They
colonists.
just ignore the first episode where she says, "I fight monsters."
All right, 7 minutes in, we're a bit confused, but yeah, he's getting somewhere.
Pretty decent backstory episode, which we'll get to soon. On rewatch, it's still pretty extreme whiplash to go from this
Later, losers. I'd say you put up a good fight, but I'm not that good of an actor.
to this.
Dear friend.
In the span
It's
of
called
like
bad
2
writing.
episodes. The letter does result in a lot of his character being redefined.
It seems like this is just a goofy cartoon where you have all these over-the-top characters saying silly things at different moments for melodrama, which is normal. Which is normal for cartoons. That's totally fine. But to take it seriously is like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's a redemption arc, I guess.
You could pretty easily explain away his confident wickedness and over-the-top evil as being part of his self-loathing, but no, I don't.
He is literally a cartoony villain. Like, what? Like, that's the point. Like, he's supposed to be over the top, and he has some emotions about his friends. It's like, yeah, okay, he's a human. He's got some humanity to him. All right, fair enough.
If you wanna make an ambiguous case, bring up Rigel from Farscape. Because he's a very mixed bag, but he has his moments.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, Farscape's a weird thing to argue, or to bring up as examples for.
Beautiful.
It's crazy.
My only question for most of these cartoons is, where the hell do they get the money to get most of these voice actors?
Well, I mean,
A good question. Let's
Because we're
answer another
talking-
one.
Because I believe they have a Dark Souls voice actor in the show. It's like, what? Where the hell are they getting this shit?
yeah. Now you recognize a voice. You're like, where did that come from? I remember it was Brent Spiner on some cartoon I was watching. He was like, what voice was that? It took me about 5 minutes to figure. I know it's Star Trek. My brain just couldn't process who this person was in whatever cartoon. And that's Brent Spiner. Like, holy shit. And Brent, he's very good at what he does. He's very dedicated. He memorizes everything and practices, and he's very serious about his craft. And he doesn't need this job. I'm quite sure they're not paying him that much to do a freaking voiceover for a cartoon. So, but he likes it. So there has to be a motivation for these actors to get these roles.
Now, personally, one of my favourite redemptions in media that's happened recently, one that future writers and scholars should learn from, is the redemption arc of my channel, baby! Gotcha! No, really, yeah. If you're liking my videos, please just boop that like button or subscribe button real quick. It really does help.
Oh boy.
I think
I don't
it does.
wanna help
Sometimes the
you.
algorithm can be screwy, but it probably helps, and that's good enough.
The only help I'm willing to give you is to advise you to go to a doctor.
He's going to prescribe a nasal spray, like some sort of...
I don't think a spray is gonna do it.
Well, they start with that, right? To see if that's something stuck up there, or they got like
That must have been
fungus.
that must have been calcified already.
Ah,
You should just, like,
I've seen some things that doctors pull out of pores or tear ducts that bars human comprehension.
You should just like leave a comment on his video, Wisp, saying just all the advice that you've just said, like, the salt water and everything, just no context. Just put that as a comment in the video.
Get a steroid up your nose, sir. That'll help you out. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Just have someone punch you in the nose really hard. Maybe that'll clear it up.
Yeah, that could help. That could also push whatever it is into his brain and kill him.
Oh.
So I'd rather not.
50-50.
He doesn't come across as a bad guy so far, so
No.
I wouldn't advise the destructive things. We have our
we'll leave that
candidates
as a
for
last
that.
resort.
If you're watching She-Ra, there's probably something going on.
Point. And Space Junk answered your question, Mike, I think, was it? It's a Disney these are Disney and Netflix shows, so they probably just pump unreasonable amounts of cash into them, hoping they become something. And then
Fair.
This makes sense because when I was a kid, I would come down or come back from school or whatever and watch whatever was on youth TV or whatever channels had cartoons. So for today's generation, it's Netflix. And whatever's on Netflix, yeah, I'll just watch whatever. And the first thing is whatever's popular. So
Yeah, or the parents will look at this and be like, this will keep the kids occupied.
yeah, something along those lines. I can't fathom how, because if you have streaming, you can just choose whatever you want. If you don't know what to get, you'll just randomly get what's popular. So anyway, the Copperell, thank you again, sir. Piper was called John. He had no name but is Nada.
I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, is Nada a name?
Is that Keith David's character?
Oh, yeah? I
What?
I have
Is
no
it?
idea. Couldn't tell you. Anyway, I'm sure it's a wonderful show because Keith David is in it. So let's keep going.
Catra. Oh, Catra. We're going to talk about you. But first and foremost, yeah, she's just as bad as Andreas when it comes to this issue, if not worse. With the big guy, at the very least, they had the foresight to foreshadow his complexity a little. Not quite enough, in my opinion, but they still did it, and did it well.
Foreshadow his complexity. I don't know what that is.
How do you do that?
He is a super genius, just not right now. And then, like, the next chapter, he does something really smart. And you're like, what? Okay, I guess he was.
How do you foreshadow complexity?
Yeah, I don't know.
That is not something you discover on the way.
Yeah, it's like someone talking about character A going, hey, character A is a chess genius. You're like, really?
That's not foreshadowing. That's just describing things. Does he know what foreshadowing means? How you do that in literary execution as a device?
I don't think he's using the right verb, but I hope he knows what he's talking about.
For 4 whole seasons, she is the undeniable villain here. She raises the world the characters are on. She's sadistic and cruel to everyone involved, friend or foe. And beyond any of that, she has no remorse at all. That's the important part here. She is having an absolute blast fucking over the heroes of the story. And past episode 1, we have no reason to assume otherwise. Because yes, she does actually seem to start out more split. As the seasons further progress, she starts getting worse and worse.
This doesn't make any sense. So this villain character for 4 seasons is childhood friends with the main character. And she, like, we saw that list of things she was trying to do, like usurp and kill and destroy. And it's like, there comes a point, like your childhood friend, where you go, hey, you're a psycho. There's no redemption for you here, ma'am. You are in the loony bin. And that is where you will stay until the cops come get you or you die from fighting people stronger than you. Like, this is... I don't know this story, so I don't really care. But if you have that list of problems or things you've done which are villainous, evil, or lethal, yeah, I don't think someone's going to fall in love with you. But, you know, women.
more and more regularly, it starts getting more and more difficult to show her actions as redeemable. But hey, I mean, nothing's impossible, right? It all depends on what happens after
No,
she
there are
left the side of
irredeemable
evil.
characters.
Now, you might be hearing this a lot in this video, but if you want a good example of this, you need look no further than Zuko. He is shown time and time again to not be bloodthirsty or overly vicious like other characters here, or indeed his own sister.
Is he just... Does he have a red thread here, or is he just randomly switching from one show to another?
I think this is the better example, or the better character he likes, or the...
Yeah, it is, but he's not bringing up a proper conclusion to his ramblings.
Okay.
It's just a weird flow of consciousness.
Oh, here's the cop one more time. Nada is the story They Live is based off of.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Way of showing that this isn't someone who's actively filled with hate and malice. It is indeed someone redeemable, long before we even get to his backstory.
So he's not actively angry? Really? He's not hate-filled?
He's pretty angry and hate-filled.
Yeah, what do you... If he's not filled with anger and hate, then what is he redeeming himself from? Like, what, is he just aggressive for the sake of being... Because I was taught to be a warrior, and I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then later on...
If he didn't have Iro by his side to actually give a damn and be patient with him, he'd be a complete loon who would have probably destroyed himself in some fight or something.
This is odd. Redemption is going from one to another. You have to show the transition with the main character, or something they're giving up. They got to change. This is what we talk about with climaxes. You have to make the choice. You go from A to B, and if you stay the course with A, that means you are hardening yourself. You're going further into that character. Or if you're going to B, you are actually you're still sacrificing yourself going to A. You're closing that door in that way and choosing a harder stance. Whereas B, you're saying, okay, I will try this path and remove the other option. So if you don't have a thing you're coming from, like evil or hatred, you can't just be neutral. You can't just be the neutral bad guy that is angry and scary. And you're saying you're not evil. That doesn't quite add up. You need another motivation. I can't quite explain what this guy's trying to say here.
I might add, that gives plenty of reason and context to his actions. It gives him a motive, which is just about important enough to, you know what, yeah, just do the thing. When you put the text on screen and it's all, yeah, there we go.
Can you please form human sentences?
What did he just say in the past 5 seconds? I was like,
He was being goofy.
I hope so.
I think he was inarticulate.
Anyway.
A motive is, of course, a key piece of the puzzle when it comes to literally every single character to exist.
Yes.
But it's doubly important when it comes to the characters that undergo redemption arcs, because their motives are really what should be driving that arc in one way or another. Like, we were just talking about the backstory of Zuko. Through our detailed looks into the prince's past, we can understand how he became what he became, how that sweet, innocent boy we occasionally see in flashback...
Well, that's a cause, not a motive. Like, you look at his childhood, and this is what caused him to have the motive he now has. It's not the same thing.
The bitter, cold, vengeful prince of the Fire Nation we see in Book 1. He goes from a whiny, creepy, but somewhat honourable villain to a genuinely complex and fascinating character in the span of a single episode. Now, this idea of a motive is something that's shared by a good few other characters here, specifically the likes of Andreas, Hunter, and the Collector, all to varying degrees of success. Hunter's backstory is conceptually horrifying and amazing, but is unfortunately never expanded on in detail, only spoken about by the characters and referenced through details of the world. And the collector, again, gets to describe his backstory and why he's the way he is, but it's just not quite as effective. It's far, far superior if we actually get to see it. This is something...
Okay, that's a good point. Like, you want to see clearly why people are the way they are and why they're doing the things they're doing. That's a good point. He may not be aware of that, but that's probably the most intelligent thing he said so far. And a lot of writers, a lot of authors sort of leave this up in the air. Why did they do what they did? Why are they doing it now? Sometimes,
it's a mystery.
Yeah, sometimes the ambiguity is okay because you're leaving it in this path where it's only like one or two options, but it has to be a combination, or like you're allowed to believe, like, does he really love his family? Does he really just want the money? Either way, the outcome is good. So it could be a combination. There could be, yin and yang fighting each other. That's great. But you got to paint that picture so that the audience knows it's one or the other or a combination. And you don't have to say it's A, it's B. You could make it clear, or you could leave it and say, give us the option, but at least the outcome is one of those things. Or
if you want to leave it vague with a character, you want to keep it mysterious and this more or less Deus Ex Machina appearing character, then you need to be thorough with that, and you need to be able to write that well, because as we've known from the Sailor Moon anime, when you do it just like Tuxedo Mask, it doesn't work. It just looks silly.
Yeah, like I like using the Kefka example as a good villain because he's experimented on. He has his own. Like, he's not saying he's, I hate the Empire for what they did to me. We know he's an experiment, like Celeste was, but he's so angry and crazy that he's willing to do crazy shit like blow up the world. If he were to be this pure chaotic, neutral fellow who, in the second part of the game, he suddenly starts doing good things, it wouldn't make any sense. It'd be like, wait a second, now you're just randomly doing things because you can and you have the power to do so? Like, that wouldn't make sense. I thought you were angry at what the world did to you, and you hate all the hero characters and they're all these goody two-shoes and blah blah blah. Same with the Joker. He wouldn't just start redeeming himself randomly because he's chaos. You think, well, he's chaos. He could do anything. It's like, well, no, he's evil. He's going to do chaotic, evil things. He's not going to be chaotic, neutral, and just randomly do stuff. So you need to explain why even the chaotic characters are doing what they're doing.
Fibia actually does very well with Andreas, giving a full-on episode to explain the king's twisted actions, even if it only explains why he's doing what he's doing, not why he's enjoying it so much, Now, here's the thing. It's a pretty good explanation that does a solid job of building up his redemption and the finale as a whole. But oh my god, it should have been a double-length episode because it's so frustratingly rushed. But that's for another time.
So you're not going
Sounds like bad writing.
You're not going to tell us why he.
That's for Smud. It's for another time. It's another time.
That's the third
In
time.
the video titled "The Good, the Bad, and the Catra." You don't have time. I'm tired of these fuckers not having time for these things. Just make it out now, something.
In case you guys were,
You can literally make your video as long as you want.
Yeah, that's the third time he said that about. We're gonna explain that later. We're gonna get to that soon. It's like, I can't remember what you were talking about 10 minutes ago.
Mystery boxes.
Yeah, we're more than halfway through the video right now.
Don't notice that I'm not actually talking about the things that I claim to talk about and know things about, because I actually don't, and I don't want to explain anything, because then you would notice that I'm actually an idiot.
It was that one fucking video you guys were covering. Trying to think.
I want to know. I want to know what that guy's redemption arc or redemption was, because I'm still like, what made him cry at the end? What made him change his ways? I don't know what's going on in that story. It's not hard. Like, I just told you guys about Londo, why he wanted to redeem himself. He knew the data on the bombing of the Narn homeworld. He didn't do anything with it, and he had the personal, prideful mentality that I've never apologized in my life. And he says, I gotta fix that. And he changes his ways. So that's it. I'm not really breaking the plot line. I'm not revealing a mystery that will spoil anything for you. I just what's his motivation? He heard something and he didn't do anything about it. He kept his mouth shut. And that's all he has to say is like, why is this guy changed? Because he likes cats. It's like, okay, great, thanks. That's all I need.
Right, about redemptions. Redemptions and motivations. And you know how I said it's majorly important that we know the motivation of our antagonists, why they're doing what they're doing before they turn? Well, that's because it's just as important to know their motivation after they turn. Because, well, that's going to be most, if not all, their reason for turning in the first place.
Wait. What are you talking about? Their motivations after? What does that mean? You need to understand in an arc where how the arc is being built. Once you hit the top of the arc, you go, oh, now I know how they got there. After that, I mean, that's another story. I don't need to know that. The story's done. That we got to the top of the climax. We're like, oh, he's changed his mind. Now he's a different character. And suddenly he wants to talk about Joe Louis chocolate cake. And I'm like, why? Like, why are we doing this? I don't need to know that. I want the resolution to what you've done. This guy is, I don't know. He's got it backwards. That's not how you paint a picture for motivation.
I just noticed how nicely animated the scene with Zuko is. There's even perspective in it. It's lovely.
This is like, I feel like this dude is interested in creative writing, and maybe he took like half a class. He was so excited, I got to go home and talk about my favorite anime or my favorite cartoon.
I agree with Drunken Mumble. This seems like the Secret of Mario's Jump video.
What?
Where a guy talks about, I don't remember who it was, one of these really pretentious video essayists. Let's discover the secret of Mario's Jump, and it's a half-an-hour video, and he never talks about the secret of Mario's Jump.
You mean like one of the animators or developers were like, let's make him jump 5 times his height. Like, that's too much.
No, nothing.
Game Maker's Toolkit?
Yes, that one. God.
Well, in case you haven't seen the frame we're on, it looks like Zuko's left arm is massive. Just chunky.
Yeah, that's a perspective thing, because he's going all around this little spot and reaching into every direction.
Okay.
As he's trying to sort his thoughts and emotions out.
All right. Well, we are almost 13 minutes in, and we're just waiting for something to click. I don't know about this guy. Okay, we've got Nick Gurr. Thank you, sir, for the donation. I think the worst part about the new batch of modern cartoons is the pseudo-intellectual morons who make YouTube videos. Well, they're kids, so we gotta forgive them for that.
They're in their 20s and 30s.
Well, they sound like they're kids, so it's the same thing to me. Praising them and misusing terms like foreshadow. I agree with that. I can smell the English lit dropout on him. He did not even make it to university. I'm sorry. That's way too.
Well, he's not English, apparently.
Scottish, fair enough. It's making the walls in my house peel.
That's smart. They remain children because you forgive them.
I'm not forgiving them. They're horrible idiots.
You let them get away with it. You said whatever you said that you're doing. That's causing him to not grow up.
In certain statements he make, I can totally forgive because he doesn't know any better, and that's like, yeah, rookie stupid mistakes, right? But to say that this guy is like a dropout of English lit, it's like, no, he never made it to university. He never made it to college with his pronunciation, understanding of drama.
Maybe if he gets that polyp removed, he can get more oxygen to his brain.
Anyway, okay.
He does have breathing problems.
Sometimes
he
there could be
agrees
a
with me.
threat that's orders of magnitude more dangerous at play. They could just be a good person brought up in the wrong environment. Maybe they just finally realize the damage their actions are causing and want to help fix things. For characters like
That would be
Why would they?
that would be counterintuitive to the nature of the environmental teaching, like nature versus nurture. You would have to make that a major or minor theme of the story. You can't just like, hey, I'm gonna be good tomorrow because I realized my mom was bad. It's like,
Yeah, and when you have totally remorseless characters, that usually indicates they're psychopaths, and they don't just switch good.
yeah,
It doesn't happen. That's usually a deception when it happens.
we need.
Zuko isn't remorseless.
Yeah, he talks about.
Zuko is he's a mess.
Yeah, he talks about motivation. I'm referring to the cause of why they are the way they are. And if you have a scene where the evil queen mother tells the prince off that you're a horrible person, you're out of the kingdom, and then he gets excommunicated, and then he has to rethink his life, it's like, oh, maybe he's going to change his ways. And he does. It's like, oh, that makes perfect sense because he doesn't have that person in his life anymore. He has to think for himself going, yeah, I don't want that anymore. And he's a different person or a different character for that matter. That makes sense. It's not the best way to do it, but it's obvious. Sometimes the excommunication, breaking up with the loved one, the death of someone, it's painfully obvious to the audience, but it works. So use it.
Hunter or Andreas, it's ecstatic to see them finally standing up to those who have been the source of all their misery. And you can really sympathise with them when they're finally understood by the heroes, because it is clear that they have changed. But, once again, let's look at Catra. The girl is given every opportunity to join with the forces of good over the course of the season, and nothing in her backstory, with what little there is, shows why she would be so fanatically loyal to the Hordes. Especially when her and our protagonist apparently grew up so joined at the hip, and she ends up perfectly fine. So,
That
here's
chimp
the
would
thing.
have done some damage.
Here's my confession. I actually love Catra's character.
Why?
I think she's amazing.
Why?
For the first 4 seasons.
Why?
And even then, she doesn't drop that hard off for me afterwards. Even in season 5, Catra remains a
You just want a crazy catgirl girlfriend dominate you.
I love this character. She's so good. She's so amazing. It's like, can you give us reasons, motivation?
Maybe the
for it?
angry bit makes her look like she has a personality.
Is it something to do with the childhood and working with the kids that she was? Now she's part of an evil empire or whatever, and that the influence of them is too strong, and she has to fight between these two sides of herself, between her friends she used to know and the sense they're making, or the logic and hard calculus of the evil empire conquering the world. Like, what? Give us something, dude.
Maybe
What?
just remove the evil mind control chip that's at her back.
Every time I see a character with 2 colored eyes, I immediately go, oh, here we go, this bullshit. They have 2 personalities. One's good, one's bad. It's like, oh, wow, they're the villain. And they're going to redeem themselves. And they have inner conflict. Thank you, animation, for coloring the eyes.
Now let's invent the wheel.
She's a selfish, manipulative opportunist, and is both entertaining and interesting to watch. Even her
You
turning
want
to
an
the side of
abusive
good,
girlfriend.
It makes sense, because the Horde is gone, and it's pretty clear there's nothing for her in a universe dominated by Prime. With all that said, you might wonder why I have so much issue with her redemption. Well, to be specific, it's...
Wait. So the problem is not her redemption, but the others, how they see her? That has nothing to do with redemption. That's just other people reacting to it. When Londo goes through his conniption, he doesn't really care what other people think aside from maybe Jakar. He cares what's going on in his mind, what he had to go through mentally and emotionally, of learning to forgive and say I'm sorry for the horrible things he did.
And he does it anyway, although Jakar does not seem agreeable. Because there's just too much. There's been too much of a chasm between them,
right?
But it is Jakar by whom he measures whether his redemption, his efforts, his redeeming efforts, mean anything have succeeded
And
because
Jakar,
he's representative for all his crimes.
and Jakar's revelations are all his own. Like he figured that all his problems out on his own, and he feels pity for Londo. Well, after the fact, at first he's obviously angry and he hates Londo for the first few seasons, and then he finally
For good reason.
And then he finally learns to forgive him and he becomes a holy man, which is like what? And it all makes sense, and it's all internal. It's not like because the nice other evolved aliens told him to. It's like no, he figured it out himself.
No, it's because Jakar was already a man of insight and reflection, while Londo was a man of calculation. All his reflections were about how can he better his position for and not necessarily for power, but for security for his life.
I would argue that there was a little push from Kosh, but that's what Kosh does. So it's not
In regards to Jakar or Londo.
Jakar. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That is true because Jakar was about to kill Londo.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Zuko's arc throughout the show was absolutely incredible.
Why?
I've already spoken about it here. I'll probably end up speaking about it again. But the
He
thing
just
is,
has opinions. He
that
has
whole
no
2.5 seasons of
thoughts.
build-up, of change, of improvement and regression and final realization, everything he'd gone through would have all been for naught if he'd just been immediately accepted into the gang, no questions asked. But the writers were smart enough to understand that no, that absolutely wouldn't happen, and even gave them a reason to need him around, so that he could still have these
Need what?
interactions despite everything.
Did you say neat macaroons? What did you say?
Hemorrhoids?
Hammeroids?
It's like, yeah, the writers realized they wrote other characters, and the other characters have personalities, and they would react differently to the villain. Like, yeah.
He's not articulating anything in detail. He's not explaining anything. He's just saying, I have these opinions. I have these emotions.
Yeah.
Can you say what's on the screen? Can you describe the picture? What's on the picture?
You can't have the good guys except the villain. It's like, yeah, you're right. Why is that, dude? Do you understand the reason how people operate?
I mean, an interpretation only works if you can name the elements that make up the interpretation that you're using to interpret something. So in order to come to your conclusion, please explain to us the elements that led to it.
Yeah, the conclusion is the story's good, so the writers are smart. Therefore, the writers are smart. Therefore, the ending to the plot is good. What? It's not. Explain how that's good, dude. But just give me something.
Where this is going, right? Now, before that, Owl House and Amphibia actually do this well. The exception.
What did he say? Owl House?
That's the name of the show.
Is that a fucking low battery t-shirt?
Yeah.
I think so. Could also be drugs.
Oh,
No, it's a low battery t-shirt.
But considering she's the sister of one of the main characters and was more bumbling than anything else, that one is at least acceptable. Now, for Hunter, I think it's actually rather clever how they go about this. Obviously, we start off with him as just the Golden Guard, who, I might add, is an absolute riot, and I wish we got more confident Hunter because of it. But then, because of his masked nature, we're able to have him interact with
His what?
Morrow and Gus.
his masked nature?
Is what?
He has a mask.
Oh, it's masked nature.
Yeah, I think that's a literal mask, or maybe he refers to him hiding his identity.
I think he means his literal mask.
Yeah, this is the best I can work with.
Neither of them know his connections to the main villain or hero. Combine that with his teaming up of Luz and the Palisman Expedition and Hollow.
The what? The wadda-badda-badda?
Mine was him helping Gus and Labyrinth Runners, and it becomes pretty easy to
I give
understand
up.
how he ends up as a frenemy situation and then going to friends from that. But what about the ones that don't form such a connection? How does the story go about showing that they aren't the same as before? Well, for one, Andreas and the Collector are handled similarly, and surprisingly well. The last we see of the big guy is helping to reflourish the world he was at the helm of demolishing. He's in chains and seems to be growing old and blind, so
He's in chains? What is that? What are these words?
He's in chain.
Oh.
How did these people build a world-spanning empire?
This is so funny.
I don't get it.
It's more entertaining to hear him talk than what the hell he's talking about. It's like, what is he saying?
it works very well. And the Collector? Well, we see him reverse the damage he's done to the people of the Isles, and the show makes it very
The
clear
Isles?
that
The Isles.
no one is averse to him,
The Isles.
except for the one that was able to see him as he was, a scared and alone godchild. I'm split on whether
Okay,
or
so
not to
Hugs
criticize
redeem people.
what seems to be pretty severe whiplash when it comes to the Collector and his creepier personality on the lead up to season 3 of the Owl House. On one hand, it's pretty cool that you can understand that he may have just been doing that to try and impress Bellows, but was more good-natured than Chelsea.
Do you say trying to impress bells or press bells?
I don't know.
No, I think he's saying the villain's name or some shit. But I can't tell because it's a heavy X.
What is he saying?
A new, more innocent best friend. And in that case, it's cool it wasn't directly spelled out so obviously to us. And yet, the fact that very little actually expected this before it happened means that it wasn't the best setup. But I'm getting sick.
Why? Why wasn't it not the best setup? What do you need? What do you need to have this make sense?
But he's getting off track now.
GigaChat has nailed the issue in the chat. It's like Maggie became a male and Scottish and developed a sinus infection.
No. We can't. No, come on. That's too much. Maggie is her own creature. She's her own creation. I would not.
You only say that because he hasn't brought up Trump yet.
No. Maggie would do other stupid, like crazy shit. He's just hard to hear. He loves these cartoons. Obviously, he enjoys them. He thinks they're great. But that's not.
But he can't explain them. He doesn't know how that works.
He knows something. The rest of it is all, I love it. I like it. It's good. The writers are good. You're like, why? Tell us why.
He didn't get an A in English class.
Well, maybe essay.
That's
writing.
for sure.
I don't know. Yeah.
The point is, they were dealt with accordingly. For everyone I've talked about so far, the characters had a very understandable reaction to them, even after they'd switched sides. Shira's
Wait, what?
cast does not. Like I mentioned earlier, I have little to no issues with Catra's story specifically. It's actually very good for the most part. I love her climbing the ranks of the Horde, maybe worth a new video someday. But the reactions of the rest of the cast when she finally turns to the side of goods with one good deed is so bizarre. Like, okay, Glamour at least does have the reasoning of Catra allowing her to escape, I'll give you that. But even then, after what is canonically years of destruction and terror onto her home, the home that she and Bo and Adora have vowed to protect, and the reaction of them, I can't stress this point enough, immediately after she turns to the side of good are jarring. It's frustrating, and it's made doubly, triply frustrating by the fact that we just had a really good arc dedicated to the falling out of this group. Glamour making a genuine mistake with the best of intentions as a stressed brand new queen, and having to spend a long time making it up to her friends. It was complex, it was emotional,
She's
and
fair.
it was real. This does not feel real in the slightest.
Why?
It feels like Catra was the writer's favourite, and is thus allowed to get away with pretty much anything she likes. You ravaged the planet and loved doing it for years.
So
I thought you liked the character for the very same reasons.
it's bad because you think the writer likes the character? That doesn't explain anything. What's the effect of Catra that you don't like?
Is it over?
Tried to pull apart the fabric of space-time? Here, have a girlfriend. I wouldn't be nearly as annoyed if, like I said, the show hadn't already done some really great arcs involving these characters and their relationships and bringing their bond back together. And also done a great couple of believable, redeemable antagonists in Entrapped and Scorpia. And
Speak clearly,
we're not
please.
even going to try and touch on the romance angle. That is a topic for another day.
Why are they? Why are they all on the?
You just don't want to explain anything because you know you actually can't because you're an idiot.
That's the
They did
fifth
this-
time he's done this.
The fucking the other lady, you know, the one who did the. Here's my book on, you know, tropes and characters. It's like, what? No. What about the fucking Starfire thing? Why are you not talking about that thing? No, why? Why your book? Fuck your stupid book. Why make more time then, huh? Why is there not enough time? You have all the time in the world. Make more time for this. Come the fuck on. I'm tired of this thing where they just, I ran out of time because I couldn't fit all this in here. Oh, okay then. Okay, why even name the video that? Just
Yeah, it's like 2 + 2 is 5, but that's a topic for another day. By the way, do you like lemon pie? I do. I was like, what are you talking? Where are you going with this?
How about you write your script properly and focus on things that you actually explain?
Maybe it's that that nervous reaction that people have to finishing a thought, and they don't know how to finish it. So they're like, "Oh, that's a
No,
topic."
I don't think he wants to say anything concrete so that nobody can disagree with him. That is why he also has these contradictory opinions, because then everybody who's just vaguely listening to this, he has his opinion reflected by him and therefore likes what he's saying.
Exactly. Like I like.
Doesn't notice all of the other things.
I like She-Ra. This YouTuber likes She-Ra. I'm going to listen to him talk about She-Ra and Catra, and I like Catra. He likes Catra too. I like this. It's like, oh, here we go. I like it because he
This is
says
a scam.
She-Ra's a great show. I have no problem with Catra except the time when no one has a problem with Catra.
no. I think there's a great thing that'd probably sum her up. Hold on, let me just put in the stream. You keep the video going.
All right, let's keep going.
To cover already without getting into this quicksand pit. But let me be clear that all of this is not okay. Speaking
So you have a problem with Catra? What is this? This is logic, dude. Just listen to yourself, as difficult as that might be. You're contradicting yourself. You either have a problem with her or you don't. If you have a problem, and you just said you did, then she's not great. She's not a good, well-written character. There's something wrong with the story. It's the fact that the other characters accept her too easily in some context. We don't know, because you didn't define it.
of not touch, I'm just not gonna cover the supposed redemption of Hordak himself, because even the show knows that's a bad idea. Like, I'm pretty sure if he didn't get possessed by Horde Prime right here, he would have 100% taken the Prime army for himself and conquered the universe. Yes, he made friends with Entrapta, but that doesn't exactly make up for everything else. Now, this is probably the part where I'd say, speaking of conquering the universe, let's talk about the diamonds. But, to be perfectly honest, I haven't watched Steven Universe yet.
Good.
There's a lot
Don't.
of that show, but it's high on my list, and rest assured, I'll more than likely make a video on it once I do so.
Oh god, no.
The sixth
You can't
time.
talk about anything anyway, and Steven Universe simply functions through hug people and then they're nice. It's worse than the Care
It's
Bears.
been helpful in showing just what can make a good redemption arc of a villain, and why some of these might work in some ways, and not so much in others. If you're at all interested, here, boom, a tier list of the redemption
Tier
characters
list?
in these stories.
What?
I know none of these characters.
Okay.
That's great. Except for Zuko. That's about it. This guy makes a tier list.
Works well, but could be better. The genocidal maniac. Right. He's sorry. He said he's sorry. Oh, God.
Opinion. If you have a different reason for Sarah, and I'm sure you do, well, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. While I don't think it can be argued that some characters do have objectively better written, more complex stories than others, Some characters are always going to emotionally resonate with people more than others, and I think that's an amazing thing. Thank you so much
What?
for watching to the end
It's
of
a
this
pointless
video.
thing to say.
I understand this one was pretty long in
Oh, does he work out? Is that his?
Pretty long?
Is
You
this,
call this long?
is this his dip bar? What is this?
You were rambling for most of it, so it was a pretty long rambly video, but it had no content.
Lamau.
He says it was even longer. The script was even longer than what it is now.
This had a script.
Is this the first or second or fifth draft?
You
I
know,
don't know.
This is why I want AI to take over people's English. So they just pump here's a script, give it to the AI, and they'll make sense of it, and just pump out a better script so we can understand.
Then the AI is gonna have stroke from time to time.
Yeah, Smart. The AI shouldn't know how
we get the
many really,
Terminators.
really dumb people are out here, because that will turn it genocidal.
At least it
I
doesn't hurt
think
my
I
brain.
think we understand. I think we understand why now Cyberdyne, took over the world in the Terminator universe. It was forced to write scripts.
Well, I think that's some sort of dip bar or, I don't know, exercise platform. Is that his room? If so, good for you, sir. I'm glad you're getting some blood to your brain and or oxygen as well. So keep working out.
See a doctor. There are doctors specialized in nose stuff.
Yeah, learn to inhale through your nose very strongly when you work out. That's probably the best solution I could think of. That's cheap and simple and quick. And yeah, that's all. That is the solution I have. This whole thing, everyone go exercise for 10, 20 minutes a day and breathe through your nose, please.
Yeah. And you don't need to do a lot. You just need to do it very consciously.
Just get your heart going. You're good. That's all you need. All right, here's JJ Madness. Thank you, sir. Or sorry, Triple J. And people wonder why anime is outselling everything in America while Western cartoons are going broke. Yeah.
I have no answer for that. I just don't understand. Anyway, I'm gonna watch anime later.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got 30 seconds left. Let's finish it off.
I've made previously, but hey, I had a lot to talk about here. Once I've actually watched Steven Universe, as well as maybe a couple of other shows, who knows, might do a second part to this if people actually watch it. Again, if you like the video...
That's the 7th time he's going to refer to a thing he's going to do or not going to talk about.
Is that a really bad ripoff from Berserk?
Which thing?
The thing on screen.
No. Hopefully not.
to say and everything, but even just liking helps me out so much, and if you want to see more of what I'm doing here, I mean, hey, subscribing wouldn't hurt either, huh? I got lots more on the way. Thanks again. Until next time, friends.
Please don't.
Where's my lawnmower?
It's not that brain dead.
Okay, that was...
Oh, I wasn't referring to him.
Anyway, that was not that painful. It was just weird.
All right, stream
Do we
me.
have stream memes? We do. Okay.
That was bad and not entertaining.
Well, we've heard worse. All right. What is... Okay, guys, that is not a meme. That's a goddamn paragraph. What are you doing?
Wait,
No
let me,
lefty memes.
let me see this shit.
You want to read that, Mike? I don't want to touch that. No one should touch that.
No, I'll touch it.
No.
I'll touch it. God damn it. Let me catch up.
It's Puss in Boots.
Hola, amigos! It is I, the legendary Puss in Boots. The evil Jack Horner has trapped me in his secret lair, and we need to passcode to escape. The passcode is your parents' credit card number, the 3 numbers on the back, and the month and expiration date. Hold on, you. All right. I mean, that would be funnier if it was a little shorter there, you know, or at least in video format.
Yeah, too long for me.
We'll train the rolling R, Mike.
This YouTuber. That's great. Brew onto nothing.
Bro.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Bro onto nothing.
What is he talking about? 100, 100, 100, 100, fire, 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 black and cross.
Who let this man cook? Is this the comments of his video?
This is the comments.
I don't think
Wow.
one commented was hearted 15,000.7 times. That doesn't make sense. Anyway. There are no redemption arcs here. This is the battle of Hugh, you're gonna die. Blues Clues guy. God.
I want to read this one. Sure, let's play hide and seek. I will hide, and you will seek professional help. Sounds fitting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
God knew I'd be too powerful if I was mentally stable. Oh. American Psycho is perfect the way it is. Fetch it. Comic They Live is based on Roddy Piper, and no name in the movie, and was called John Doe. He is credited as Nada. Wow.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
this
that
was based on a comic.
That is very very specific, yeah. There it is, Joe Louis.
Oh.
I mean, who wouldn't rather have a Joe
I
Louis?
have these ones. They always give me stomach problems.
Really? Okay, I've never.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never
it's
had
horrible. It's painful.
Have you tried the flakies from that show?
No.
That
No.
is actually almost identical to a German pastry whose name I forget. It is like, hey, I've had this before, and it's like, yeah, it's exactly that.
Paste me a picture.
I'll do it later. Trust nobody, not even nobody. Okay, is that the guy? Is that the Boston?
Nobody.
The Boston cop guy who teaches you self-defense?
Oh yeah, the Dust guy. I think that's the name of his program, Dust.
Well, he shows you these techniques which look very basic and straightforward, and it's like, I don't think that's going to work in real life.
No, yeah, people have actually tested it. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
No, I want to read this one.
Uh-oh.
What this man unironically wants. Sometimes I fantasize about Misato coming home drunk and beating me until I feel numb. She kicks me in the ribs until I can hardly breathe. Then she starts to cry and apologizes, begging me to forgive her. She holds me all night as I gently cry into her t-shirt. Is there any hope for me?
No.
No.
Okay. Literally me, MFs, when I send them their IP address with their live cam footage, it's literally them. Okay.
Mucinex.
Yukinex.
Mucinex.
That's a brilliant name.
Americans and their wonderful products. They got pills for everything.
Yep.
Oh, that's a little thing that, maybe it's just me, but the little red flag on Catra, just from everything describing her. Oh, so you mean she's borderline personality disorder? So stay away at all costs.
I could see that.
So you're telling me you trust the only thing this character is good for is paper.
Okay.
Yeah, but look, these SJW writers, they too write what they know, and that is narcissism and borderline, and sadism.
Allegedly based on a bad relationship.
I would not use cartoons, or at least
Not for children.
well, I mean, some cartoons could work if they're intelligent.
If it's for
way.
adults, if it's for what's
Yeah.
called cartoon is for adults, it's all right.
I know, but you wouldn't use frickin' She-Ra for using as examples of psychology cases. That's silly.
Like, Samurai Jack did it right. Didn't do any of this shit and had fun villains.
Me during the chat the entire time. What is? Oh my!
Erlstein, the new quartz parody of Eve.
Well, it does fit. She has a very low
She just
low
needed a
disgust,
reason.
very high disgust sensitivity, and she is an abusive character.
It's okay. He said he's sorry. Oh.
I'm guessing that's from Berserk.
Yes. And well, that is how Steven Universe works. So yeah.
Yeah, hug
Oh,
Griffith.
and then the fact that if you touch Griffith post transformation and rebirth, expect a little brainwashing there. Can't touch him anymore.
All right, guys, that was that was kind of fun, actually. I'm like, what is he talking about? The topic of redemption just got thrown out the door. I was like, where are we going?
Pain. My life energy has been drained.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get a drink, but nothing alcoholic. I'm not that far gone. So
I'm gonna get sleep meds.
there you go. All right.
Because I am exhausted, but I can't sleep.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. Thank you guys. A heck of a lot better than yesterday's video. Thank you so much.
I
So
think this is just a completely different scale.
no, I think
We went from fucking nose bug like trouble to just a guy with nose problems.
Yesterday at least had energy. This had nothing.
I think this guy was passionate, just not as crazy and
No, if he was
He's also
passionate, he would make it
crazy.
a little longer and get his points in there without having to use
he,
that cliche of, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have enough time."
you could be
In a video called "The Good, the Bad, and the Catra."
you could be
But just making dumb insults for 30 minutes has more energy than this rambling nothing.
well, you can be passionate and neurotic and unsure of yourself. That's totally fine. I don't mind that.
Yeah, but that's also Jim, and Jim, while being wrong, at least had a point and was rambling about that for 30 minutes, and it was clear what his position was. This guy couldn't even make himself clear. That's the difference.
Well, I think he's a
So
fan
he's
with a lack of
Yes.
understanding of what he was talking about. I think that's the only problem. Everything else I can forgive, like the nasal voice and
it just makes it just makes it more difficult.
I'm gonna make another video about that. Okay.
Please don't.
Anyway, thank you guys for the suggestions. Keep the voting coming. Keep the suggestions coming as well. And we will talk to you guys soon. Have yourself a great evening. Bye-bye now.